Welcome to the Upshot, Ulti-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. It is Thursday, March 19th. No tournament this weekend. Oh, well, there is a tournament. It's just not a disc golf tournament. March Madness, rocking and rolling, starting when? Is it today?
It's today.
Today?
It's today at 9:30.
Dude, I'm not even ready. I realize now that it's Thursday. 12:15 p.m. Eastern. I'm locked and loaded. Get the second screen up. Josh, you're gonna be in your law classes with the phone and the book.
Oh, I guarantee every single laptop is gonna have a phone or just March Madness on it, without a doubt. Yeah, like we're gonna be chilling today. That's for sure.
Is Duke winning the whole thing? They look good, Josh.
No.
They look good.
Nope. It's gonna be. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say Arizona.
Okay.
I'm a Big 12 guy now. You know, I gotta rep the conference.
There's three really, really good teams: Duke, Arizona, and Michigan.
Right.
I think it's going to be one of those three.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's a couple others that just have Purdue's offense is fantastic, and Houston's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams.
It's going to be,
this year.
Oh man,
it's going to be fun.
I haven't got my bets in. I got a lot to do after this episode. We wrap recording. Anyway, no tournament this weekend. Queen City Classic coming up in just over a week, and that'll be a lot of fun at Hornets Nest. Today, we've got a couple great things for you. We're going to be taking some mailbag. We've got a lot of mail over the last few days talking about everything that happened this weekend at the Big Easy Open. And then Steve Hill, former Upshot host and now at UDisc as their marketing director, will join us to talk about the new UDisc Growth Report and kind of how they've repositioned that and what we can learn from the latest data from UDisc. All right, so without further ado, it's time to jump into some mailbag. Remember, you can email us anytime, upshot@ultiworld.com, and you can talk with us directly in the Discord if you become a subscriber. It's less than $5 a month. Just head over to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. Join the community. It's only getting better. We got so many people in the live reacts now, and it's the best place to talk live tournaments too. It's super fun. So we'd love to have you join us. Josh, what do we got for mailbag number one?
Yeah, just a quick preamble / notice. There are a lot that involve if you drew a Venn diagram that one was rules enforcement and one was Ricky Wysocki, you're going to capture about 9 out of 10 of these emails here. So buckle up. It's what's on everybody's mind. Let's just get a nice, short, easy one that I think really is the kind of what we talked a little bit about, but Brian shares his thoughts as well. He says, Brian is also the one who wrote in on the Canada curling situation.
Yes.
So great email there. But Brian says, don't even get me started on Sticky Wysocki. But to me, this is where players should learn to mimic golf more. You don't touch anything around your lie, especially on a main pairing in the final holes, without addressing a Marshal or a card to confirm. Rick should have addressed the card first, and we would have avoided this whole thing.
100% facts.
Yeah.
Like, if there's one takeaway from this weekend, it is that.
And it doesn't require any change to anything to do, right? It doesn't require players to be harsher on their card. It doesn't require marshals. It's just, hey guys, I'm going to do this. This good? Like that is a bare minimum thing that I think should be done on anything that could be slightly controversial.
Yeah. I mean, I also think, I don't know if this is going to come up in the emails, but I'll just say this. I think it would be good for the PDGA to come out and put out a little article with some screenshots or some things and say, this is okay, this is not okay, this is why under the rules it's okay or it's not okay. Because I think there's still some kind of ambiguity in how these rules are supposed to be enforced. Because I got clarification yesterday from an official at the PDGA that if a branch or whatever is anywhere behind your lie,
even
not
in
your stance necessarily, anywhere behind your lie, and it is germane to your shot for whatever reason, because you feel like it's like impeding on your swing or whatever, and it's behind your lie and it's dead and it's unattached and it's loose debris, you can move it. So it's not relevant that it like be directly behind your mini. It can be over there. I mean, in theory, it could be way out in the woods. Now, obviously, you're not going to move a stick way out in the woods. And there's still a spirit of the rule here where, you know, if you're moving it in order to gain a better throwing lane for your forehand versus to clear your stance, like you're not supposed to move it, because the whole baseline concept is don't alter the course to make it easier. So, but I will say, I don't know exactly what you're supposed to do. Let's say the branch is behind the disc, you pick it up and like it's tangled up with a bunch of other branches that are out in front, which like is the baseline case. If you want to make the case for Ricky that what he did was legal, that would be the case. It's like, well, there was that one branch and he picked up all these other branches that were kind of included with that branch and then they moved it. But is that fair? Like what do the rules people say? Was that legit or is that illegitimate?
Yeah.
I definitely think Brian's email is the right idea, which is like consult with the card and the marshal before you start moving stuff. But I would love the clarity there, you know? And like, what counts as something that you can easily move yourself? I had a couple people DMing me like, well, what about Gannon's caddy moving this branch that was like kind of a thicker branch? That's like, I don't know. I'm not the authority on like what counts as loose debris. To me, it should be like clarified by the PDGA so that we have a sense of a baseline. Like, how big of a branch does it have to be before it's too big to be moved?
I also think that people are misreading that part of the rule, because it does not say that the object must be moved by the player themselves, just that the player can easily and quickly move it by themselves. Can being the operative word.
Correct. It's like if Gannon could move it, his caddy is allowed to help him.
Bingo. I think that is the rule. It's to prevent saying Gannon and his caddy together or picking up a log.
The whole card is like dragging out a massive trunk.
The Tiger Woods rock example, right? That is what that is preventing. But the fact that Gannon's caddy did it, I think, like, talk about pace of play conscience. Like, Gannon's sitting there, like, assessing his lie, making decisions about his throw, having his caddy move some sticks real quick. But I think very much still within the rules, and people who are saying that that's the violation, I think are wrong. I don't think that's written. I think that is an incorrect reading of the rules. Pretty confidently, I feel that way, actually. So now there are some emails that make mention of the irony that Gannon is the one who makes the call. What I think is interesting, I kind of want Gannon to be the one to keep making calls, because all it's going to take is someone to get tired enough of Gannon calling them, and then rules are going to be enforced. Like, that's the snowball. It's not a snowball. It's a dam that is on the precipice of breaking, because like they're like, oh well, Gannon like has time issues all the time. Like, you're right. That's why Gannon calling the rules, I think, actually creates the best opportunity for us to really, really dramatically increase self-enforcement. So keep calling Gannon.
All right. Let me go to. We got a big email from Patrick. Okay. Patrick's a Ulterior Disc Golf contributor. It's long. I'm going to summarize a little bit, but I'll read the first paragraph.
It's a great email. It's
great email. The Disc Golf Pro Tour does not have the capacity to station a marshal on every hole of the course. I don't believe they will ever have the capacity to assign one marshal per card. These are real limitations. However, as this past weekend demonstrates, perfect should not be the enemy of good. I think the DGPT should require a 4-person officials team at all DGPT events, allowing them to staff the top 4 cards in each division with marshals. They could pursue an aggressive timeline for this change, aiming for the second half of the U.S. Tour, or they could communicate it for the start of the 2027 season to give tournament teams more time to prepare. The Pro Tour should provide 1 marshal for every event. The TD should be a marshal at every event, and the local team should provide 2 additional marshals. And I understand if there's concerns about fairness if only 4 cards are under observation, but it's a media product, and it's in the Pro Tour's best interest to ensure rules integrity for cards most likely to appear on coverage, which I basically agree with that and said as much on Tuesday. All of this is moot, of course, if the rules aren't enforced consistently by the marshals, but aim for the low-hanging fruit first. There are some rules that are easier to enforce than others: clearing a lie, establishing a stance, excessive time. And the Pro Tour should instruct players to request a marshal when removing non-trivial debris. The Pro Tour would need to set expectations before implementing this type of change. Email the players before it goes into effect, blah, blah, blah. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on the core premise here? Four marshals, top four cards, with a kind of shared responsibility between the Pro Tour, the TD, and the local team.
This is significantly better fleshed out than my thoughts on this similar subject. I agree wholeheartedly with the premise of, like, forget the idea that we have to have marshals equally everywhere. Just please start really enforcing the cards that are going to matter. And we could even say round one, we don't need
arguably
marshals.
Is happening somewhat tacitly but not consistently already.
Agreed. I think what's really smart about this one is identifying a specific set of rules that are going to be strictly enforced by the marshals and whose primary responsibility that will be. And what that does, so what you can do there is you make them experts. Remember, you were talking about the PDGA writing the article about this is okay, this isn't okay. You should train marshals on that. Make them like really, really detailed applications of that rule, send it to the players, and make sure marshals are prepared to enforce those rules. And then you just have that additional like insight of people who hopefully are more knowledgeable, or at least as knowledgeable as the players when it comes to other issues like advancing, spotting issues and such. I think this is a really well thought out email, and I really, really like the solution. I also just have a hard time believing, like, can we really not find 4 people at every tournament who we require to be very intimately aware of the rules who want to serve as marshals? I'd have a hard time believing that we couldn't find, a local TD who's run tournaments before, who you make sure that they're certified, per a DGPT standard to do this, who wouldn't be like, yeah, I'd be so down to spend Sunday walking with lead card.
What I like about this proposal is that it is both reasonable and achievable, and doesn't get into the, like, let's be honest, high expense and probably unlikely world that we're going to have 18 marshals, right? One on every hole. Right. Like, it's just not realistic. But I do think it's possible to get to something like this. And let's say it's 3 instead of 4. I think that would be okay too.
I think so too. I think 3 would be plenty.
I also think I respect Patrick's thought of, make Jeff Spring one of them. I mean, not only is he obviously know the Pro Tour rules, he's also the TD this past weekend and is the TD of multiple other Pro Tour events, or at least heavily involved. I do wonder whether he's the right person. Not because I think he's not capable, but because, like, he's imagine if the head of the PGA Tour, whoever that guy is, some CEO guy, is out there enforcing the rules. Like, it's just a little bit weird, right? It's like, because you don't want he has a lot of loyalty to the players in some ways, and is like both trying to serve the audience at home and the players on this sort of level playing field. It's kind of a lot to expect him to also then enforce the rules against the players, which could cause friction, right? Like, imagine if he stroked Ricky there, which would have been completely legitimate, I think.
Yes.
And I think, they came this close to stroking him. I mean, I think Jeff Spring was on the Tour Life podcast and basically said that, if Ricky had said, I moved the branches in order to clear the airspace, that it could have been a stroke. So I understand that there is we're kind of a small universe. You can't have everything be absolutely perfect. You can't hire full-time referees. But I do wonder if it shouldn't be Jeff.
Yeah. And to your point, just summarize it. TD Jeff, great marshal. CEO Jeff,
Right. And it's hard to, you can't really extract those two things from each other. Right.
You can't. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. You can't do that. I just have a hard time believing that we couldn't pull, I don't know what the right number is, a nominal amount of money from the purse to pay 3 marshals.
Oh, we could
for Sunday only, or Saturday, Sunday, right? Because when you've got feature cards and like like all the players are kind of all over the place in round 1. I don't even care about round one marshals, to be completely honest with you. Is there still going to be controversy? Sure, but back to Patrick's point, let's not have perfect be the enemy of good. Right. Saturday, Sunday, 3 marshals. Tell me we couldn't afford that out of the purse.
We definitely could.
Definitely could.
A couple $1,000.
Right. Absolutely a worthwhile investment. And can't tell me that you wouldn't have some people who would be willing to get, who would do an excellent job.
It's just
that price.
A fact that a stroke for players who are trying to win the tournament matters more than a stroke for someone in 60th place.
It does.
It's just a fact. And like, it's not the ideal, obviously, but I don't think we need as much rule scrutiny on people who are not being filmed and in contention to win the tournament. It's just not as relevant. It's not. Okay, so let's get to another one. Maybe this one from Chris.
Yep. That's exactly where I was going. First time caller, long time listener. This weekend's tournament further demonstrated the need for the DGPT to remove players from rules enforcement. When Ricky started landscaping, Charlie immediately commented on the apparent violation and asked Brian for his thoughts. In my opinion, Brian's momentary pause says a lot. I obviously don't know what Brian's thoughts were on the situation, but his momentary silence conveys to me that he didn't want to be the bad guy either. Couple that with the fact that Jeff Spring, as the Marshal/DGPT director, didn't want to make the call. I didn't see it, so I'll leave it up to you, means if he won't do it, why would you expect the players to make the call? I believe earlier in the round, I think it was Ricky, asked about breaking off a small dead branch that was attached to a larger dead branch that was in his way. Why did he think to ask before start clearing debris this time? I salute Gannon for bringing it up. As fans, we can't have it both ways. Complain that the players are not enforcing the rules, and then accuse them of trying to manipulate or upset their opponent when they do. And the ironic part, the guy that violates the rules on just about every putt is the guy that made the call. Side note, in the practice round videos, there were a lot of talk about possibility of tee box line violations. I didn't hear a single one being called, and I believe I saw several on coverage.
Yeah, because people are teeing off on the, like, trying to go from the red box. That felt like a nothing burger to me this weekend, to be honest. Look, we've also gotten the email that people are like, players need to just do better job calling the stuff themselves. To me, we got there kinda, right? Like, Gannon brought this up. It was discussed. It was considered. And ultimately, other players weren't watching. And Jeff didn't want to stroke Ricky, given that there was some slight ambiguity about whether there was a branch behind his lie. And the stroke would have been extremely consequential. If he was 5 shots back, if he was 5 shots up, I bet the stroke comes. But because it was close, there was like a reluctance to stroke him there. And I understand that. I don't know if this tells me players shouldn't be involved at all, what we saw, but it does show me that we need marshals with like more intensity and like out there clearly calling balls and strikes, because what we have instead is this sort of like loose system where like there's lots and lots and lots of warnings and never any penalties. And like, are we going to get serious about it or are we not? I feel like the fans are telling the Pro Tour, we want you to get serious about it.
Yes.
And the counterpoint would maybe be, well, look how mad everybody got when Kristen got foot fault stroked at last year when she slid into her mini on her follow through. The problem with that argument, in my opinion, is that the issue is that there's not consistency in the calls.
Yes.
And it seems capricious. And, you get certain players who are under scrutiny and others who are not for the same violation, right? And I've complained about this re Gannon many times. because it feels like he gets all these time warnings. To be fair, he never actually gets penalized, so what does it really matter? Even though other players also take a long time too often. But I think the new rules have set us up for that. And Luke Taylor apparently did get a time warning called on him by a marshal, even though he didn't see it on camera.
Okay.
So I'm glad to hear that. And I think that it's a step in the right direction that we're seeing players getting called for time violations now that it's a little bit easier to call these time warnings. And we'll see if the rubber meets the road when someone's already used 2 and they're clearly taking too long.
Well, and let me offer one other additional point. This is Patrick made the point that this is a media product, and he's 100% correct about that. Given that it's a media product, I would like the Pro Tour every time. Like, I want someone designated in the DGN production room to have like their number to be given out to the marshals that, like, in the system that we're talking about, and when there is an assessment of a warning or penalty, they text Jeff Spring and production or whatever. And that way you can talk about it on the broadcast because it matters. And the DGPT should have an incentive to clearly communicate the way that the rules are being enforced, because that creates narrative and interest. And so, like, the fact that we're just learning about the Luke Taylor thing, I think would have made for an important commentary point on DGN. And so we need to communicate it as well to the fans.
Listen, I have already been complaining about this even prior to the season. I have said we need to have clear indication of when time extensions have been used on the scorecard on PDGA Live. And basically it's like, well, it's in the, eventually category. So, like, I think the plan is to eventually include it, but I don't understand why it's not just a quick coding issue. Like,
I don't know either.
You add a little time extensions thing and they put them in on the app and it shows up. To me, it doesn't seem hard. So I'm glad to publicly make the case for it too, because I agree with you, Josh. I think that we all need to know what the status is, because if someone's used 2 time extensions, it adds pressure to the end of their round.
Yeah, it does.
All right, next one.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's take some course stuff here a little bit.
Okay.
After hearing several, this is from Isaac. After hearing several hours worth of commentary before and during the Big Easy Open, I keep hearing something like, quote, "When great shots don't get birdies, it's a problem." Can you explain what that means? If there was a line to the basket, isn't a great shot one that hits that line? To me, it's like saying I only got a 50% on the test because all my great answers were half wrong.
I think the point is that you hit the problem, Isaac, and where I see the complaint come in is when you hit that first line, but that first line, so let's say that line is like the only available one. So the players hit it.
I actually think the tee shots were almost entirely fair.
I think so too. So we can even say second shot, right? There's 2 things that have to happen. Number one, I guess they're point A, point B. Because if you hit that first line, but immediately after you hit the first line, there's a wall of trees that nothing you do in terms of how you shape the shot makes a meaningful difference, because it's just too narrow gaps and the line isn't clearly defined, then that becomes a players hit the first line perfectly, pipe it, stands up, looks great, but then there's nothing they can do about the second game.
This was a clear problem on hole 18 as a perfect example.
Yes, exactly. And any shot where you played, and I don't want to say quite perfectly, but let's say you executed to 90% effectiveness, right? Controlled this ground play, you're in the landing zone you were intending. If you're in the landing zone you're intending and there is no like clearly defined line to the basket, that's another example of a problem. What players want is a clear, defined line that they can play all the way down, and if they execute it, that line is available to them. Now, I don't even think the players are complaining if, like, I see line 1 hit it, line 2 hit it, and now I'm in circle 2. I don't think that's the problem. It's that too many of the holes had either on the first or the second, primarily on the second shot, where you land and there just was not a meaningful option. and defined line as to where to go, even though they executed the first line. And that's the problem that needs to be addressed with this course. As soon as that's taken care of, I think you're gonna have a lot of pros who are very happy.
I kind of understand the take in that, like, what is generally considered to be a fair line is a pretty wide gap that players are pretty comfortable hitting, and we're, as a result, see a lot of birdies.
Yes.
I don't think it's crazy to ask players to have to hit really tight gaps, especially on a course like this, where if you took all the trees out, it would be like 17 under, 18 under. Like it would be super easy because it's flat.
Yep.
So there's like a balance.
Yes.
I think there were holes out there that clearly needed to have a couple trees taken out because it was just like there was not a reasonable path to throw through and get to the green with any kind of consistency. So like hole 2, hole 18 are perfect examples. Meanwhile, there were holes that I thought were perfectly designed that maybe need only the slightest of tweaks, like 16. And so I don't think it necessarily needs to be Macbeth's take, which is if you throw 2 great shots, you get a drop-in birdie.
Bad take.
Like, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad take. I think it's reasonable to have courses like that on tour.
Sure.
But I think that 2 great shots maybe gets you an edge of circle putt. You'd have to throw 2 perfect shots to get a drop-in birdie.
And I don't mind, having courses that have holes. Like the Big Easy Open could have some holes, but I don't think every hole needs to be 2 shots drop-in birdie with 2 great shots.
Absolutely. I mean, I am happy to have the hard course, and I think the fans responded well to it too. I think it played a lot better. My biggest thing is that the pace, the rhythm of the course is not there. There's like, they need to soften up a couple of those holes in the back 9 because it was just boring. It was just boring because there's like a lot of samey type of shots and samey type of holes. And I would love to see them create some more character to some of the holes so that we don't have that same sort of like, oh man, like we're after those par 3s at the turn, you're like, okay, like here we go. It's going to be an hour for the next 4 holes. And then we finally get to like the conclusion of the course, which is more interesting.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Because you were talking about the I was just thinking about this when you were talking about the gap. Like what is a fair gap on the Pro Tour, right? What becomes too hard? What's fair? I almost wonder, could you just test this by going out in a field with 2 like massive posts that you can move and just start at 50 feet. Take 10 MPO players, 10 FPO players. Have them throw have the gap be 50 feet out, start at 30 feet wide. How many times do they hit it? Collect the data. Bring it in 10 more feet. How many times do they hit it? Bring it in again. How many times do they hit it? Now move to 100 feet. Do the same thing. 200 feet, 400 feet, right? Collect data at different ranges, and then you could sit down and say, okay, and now granted, limited sample, I get it, but from our data, we have, a gap that is 15 feet, that is 200 feet off the tee, only has a 15% chance of being hit. That's a little too small for me. I'm going to change. We're going to bring the tee pad up and bump that up to a 30%. And that's a better, fairer hole in terms of distribution.
Right.
Wouldn't that be?
I mean,
I don't know.
Could you get players to do that? And like, could you get a significant enough sample size? I think it's a tough ask. The other thing is players get better. So players have gotten better over the last 10 years, and courses that used to be really hard are now shredded. So
that's true.
That's also a challenge if you're a course designer thinking about how does this course play in the future. I mean, I guess you could always plant future trees, but it's like it's a hard balance, and I think that this course wanted to be hard, and it achieved that purpose, and it frustrated players, and like they're not used to being frustrated, and so they complained. Well, guess what? The players always complain when something frustrates them, whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah. Last thing I'll add, I don't have a problem with hard. I just want good scoring separation holes. I don't like when it's hard, near impossible to get birdie, easy to get par.
Right.
Those are the worst holes.
All right, let me take this one from Aaron.
Okay.
After watching the first few holes of the Big Easy Open, doing some yard work, I checked back in to watch Ricky and Gannon took my dog for a walk, played catch with my kid, watched a few more holes, helped with dinner, and ate dinner. I strapped back in to watch a drama of 18, and my wife asked me, "That's still going? Do we have an issue with round length?" At this point, I can't remember even planning on watching a tournament round straight through because I know what it takes. The average round lengths for the Big Easy Open, Aaron calculated as 4 hours, 49 minutes for the MPO broadcasts, 3 hours, 56 minutes for the FPO broadcasts. He says even if you take out 45 minutes for the intro and ending, it's a 4+ hour round for MPO. SFO average rounds were also about 4 hours. I don't see how a casual fan sticks with it when the length of rounds are so long. I know I'm certainly watching less, and etc. So, well, I'll let you go, Josh. What do you think?
The answer you mentioned it at the very end, just in like some one-off suggestions. He mentions groups of 3 as being a possibility. That the PGA cuts from 3 to 2 on final days, don't they?
They definitely do 2 players at the majors. I can't speak to the rest of the golf tournaments.
I can't speak to the rest either. But they change from 3 to 2, don't they?
I think they start with larger groups and then that's twosomes for the final rounds.
Here's your solution, Aaron. Yes, golf rounds are too long. Here's your solution. Cut line. Every tournament.
Yep.
Without exception,
100%.
you have a cut before the final round. That by itself will address a lot of issues. But then it gives you the flexibility. If you want to, you could bump it down and do groups of 3. You could do cut line to groups of 3 and have final day be groups of 3 instead. That would significantly increase the pace of round. You also should provide a buffer before because if you do the cut line, you have the time to do it. Once, let's say, DGN coverage is going to start at like 10 o'clock, for example, with the lead card teeing off at 10:30, you should have a gap between the marshaled cards that are in contention and the rest of the field. So you let the rest of the field go, you have them play, and then before the third to last card, you take a half hour instead of 10 minutes.
And you've plenty of space for this if you do a cut.
If you do a cut, yep. And then you have 3 cards or 4 cards deep that are all playing on the broadcast time after that space. And there you go. I think you just cut half an hour off your round at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to help. I do think these particular courses are going to play long. There are plenty of courses that play sub 3 hours. I mean, I think Waco last year was like 2.5 hour rounds. I mean, we were flying through that course. It's just like those are long, hard courses. I mean, it's simply going to take a long time to play a 12,500 foot course.
True. Let me be clear. I'm still advocating for a cut at Waco.
I mean, I think we should have cut. I mean, I have
Every
no
tournament.
sympathy
None.
for the people who are like, oh, well, I want to play my third round. Okay, well, then play the C tier the next day. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't. Like, this is professional disc golf.
Yes.
You didn't play well enough through the first 2 rounds. You don't make the cut. You save a day of hotel. You can travel early. Like, I just don't think that's that big of a deal. Now, as for this general concept here, is 4 hours for a round too long? It's about how long a golf round is, the Masters. Like, some people are going to want to sit and lock in for the whole round. I don't. Aaron doesn't. It's fine. Like, only for like Worlds am I necessarily going to like be thinking about sitting down and watching the entire round. And that's okay. Like,
that's okay.
You can always plan to only watch the end. And I saw some people giving some great pro tips in the chat in the Discord. They're like, you start watching and an hour and a half after the start of the broadcast. You skip all the preamble, which I'm sad because I want you to watch my beautiful face talk about the whatever storylines, but I get it. And then you play, you 2x through the ads, and like you basically skip a bunch of the interstitial stuff that takes up a bunch of time. Because when you're watching ads, it means players are walking to the next hole, right?
Right.
You're not missing shots there typically. So I think that's like a pretty good way of looking at it if you actually want to watch the whole round and you want to watch the live coverage. And of course, they make the Jomez for people who don't want to do that.
Yeah. Cut at every tournament, though.
I love it.
Okay. I want to hit this email from Joe.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it kind of brief because there's a small caveat here. So Joe said he calculated the feet per shot for Circle 1 in regulation. He actually calculated the feet per shot for par Circle 1 in regulation. Circle 1 in regulation is measured by, like on a par 4, it means you're inside the circle in 2 shots. He calculated it as if it was 3 shots. I believe is what I'm saying.
Yes, that looks right.
Yes. Okay. Still interesting to me, because there are the point that he raises when you do it for par. If you play every hole for par, you don't have a single hole that requires an average shot length of above 300 feet. Now, that is, and he notes, barring something like a water carry, for example, that you have to make. But otherwise, you don't need anything more than 300 feet to play this course entirely for par. And if you presume an 80% C1X putting, which we had players who were putting way better than that, but if you presume an 80% C1X putting, then this theoretical player would score a 4 over in each round, and after round 1 would have been tied with Bradley Williams, Eagle McMahon, Austin Turner, Nathan Queen, Andrew Marweed, and Kyle Klein. And that, like, I think this is an interesting exercise in that decision-making about what holes you're playing for par, actually contextualize it in a way that makes it look significantly more achievable. We just need holes where those decisions are a bit more meaningful. And I think that this illustrates nicely the capacity that players can have to play the course in a certain way, assuming every hole had an opportunity for birdie, and it's a question of whether or not the risk is worth the reward.
All right. This one comes from Frazier. Courses on the Pro Tour need to be hard to test the best players, and increasingly hard in the future as players get better, as we've been talking about. At the same time, pros don't like holes they feel are random or fluky. How can we make holes harder in a way that will satisfy the pros? Without changing geography or weather, these are the options as I see them. Make holes longer. Make gaps tighter. Use OB to make landing zones smaller. Make shots blind. Force unusual shot shapes. Put obstructions on the putting green. Add danger to the putting green like OB or possibility of rollaways. There must be a limit to how much we could reasonably lengthen holes or tighten gaps. What is the best path forward?
Man, the most important thing is that it's man, I feel like a broken record at this point because we've talked a lot about the courses. And so, Charlie, I'm going to keep mine real brief and then I want to hear your thoughts. But to me, it's really just whatever we add. I mean, we've talked a lot about these different things that can be used in different combinations. Whatever happens, though, there has to be scoring separation. We don't want a hole with impossible birdies and easy pars. It should be like that. It has to scale properly so you get a nice scoring separation where decision making or just pure execution differentiates the field cleanly. And that to me, whatever you use to do it, that isn't just like pure luck, is good with me.
I basically agree. I think it's a combination of all of these factors. I think that we want to see players in some cases be forced to have 550 feet of distance if they want to get birdie. Mm-hmm. I want to see holes that require a really technical forehand lane for a right-handed player. I want to see holes that ask players to make a difficult putt on an uphill basket. Any and all of these things are useful tools to create interesting, varied, and challenging holes. And I don't think that it's necessarily the case that you just have to stretch courses out longer and longer. Now, if you're on a course that's on a completely flat ground, like at Parc des Familles, you're going to have to use a length because it's not possible really to challenge the players meaningfully without the holes being long enough. It's just too easy. When you have more terrain to deal with, then you can alter holes and shorten them for uphill holes, lengthen them for downhill holes. I mean, I think there's a million ways to build a cool disc golf course. and we just need to keep practicing. I personally think the biggest opportunity is to start working on greens more.
Yeah.
Those tend to be like, people are like, tee pad here, there's a gap, and we'll just put the basket over there.
Yeah.
And like, there's not really a thought of, well, let's put the basket on a hill, or like, let's put trees around the basket in some way. I mean, sometimes, but we don't see a ton of that. And I do think that there's ways to make putting, I mean, it's what we've seen at USDGC in a very artificial way, right? Where it's like, okay, we're going to put posts on the left side of the basket in order to reward you for getting to the right.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't blame them. They don't have much to work with over there either in terms of landscape, so they put stuff in the way. What else we have? That's disc golf. You know, I like some of the concepts that we saw at Big Easy Open. Like, we haven't even really talked about those mounds that were after the pond. I was complaining on the broadcast because I felt like the mounds being past the pond, which was already pushing players' distance, risk reward decision, punished players for going for it. You should put the mounds on the short side of the basket so that the footing is bad if you lay up, not if you go for it. Yeah. But I like the idea of like, okay, we're going to put some tricky terrain. We're going to build some stuff to make it harder to get your footing in order to make some difficulty in the middle of the course. That's a bunker for disc golf.
Great email, Fraser. Email from Rob here. So it's well known that some players use DGN on the course. ... I don't know which other player.
We can skip this whole thing. I mean, I like the idea here. It speculates about whether Gannon was using DGN.
Correct.
But he wasn't.
So let me ask you this, Charlie.
Circumstance.
Should there be a prohibition on DGN? That's like the question at the end.
Exactly. I think so.
I say no. It's impossible to police. To every time a player or their caddy
whip out their phone.
I'm looking
at my scorecard.
Yeah. No. And all you got to do is have like, what if the caddy just like has an earbud in on their phone,
or somebody texts them?
Yeah. Impossible to police. Every player has the same access to DGN while they're on the course.
Yeah.
It's not unfair. Let them have DGN. I don't care.
Well, maybe you changed my mind. Just because of the enforcement's point. It's a good point.
Right, because we're so good at enforcing, easy to enforce things in disc golf, right? Like, yeah. Impossible to enforce. So that's my... Love the point, Rob. Just no, that's a no for me.
Got a great one here from Aaron Howard, Ultra Disc Golf contributor. Makes dggraphs.com. Check it out. Advanced stats for disc golf. He posted this in Reddit. It's a chart of Ricky Wysocki and his scramble rate over the course of the last, how many seasons is this? Since 2016, so 10 years basically. And so for those seeing on YouTube, obviously Ricky's the red dot. For those who are listening, essentially it sorts all the players by their scramble rate, and then it normalizes to 100. This is a plus stat. You may know this from baseball if you watch a lot of baseball. And so it lets you sort of like have a sense of what is the average, which is set to 100. And then the player, let's say if you have 136, it means you're 36% better than average. Ricky is at the top of every single one of these distributions, often the literal top. And he is literally the best scrambler over the last 10 years. And I mean, it's not a surprise, but it's pretty cool to see just how amazing he's been over his entire career in this category. He's the most creative shot maker.
He is.
On tour.
Well, and has an excellent all-around game. Forehand, backhand, great putter. Like that, a great distance putter, right? Those factors together are what make him, combined with his creativity, are what make him so excellent. I don't know if I guess I should just always assume that Gannon's going to be near the top of every stat. Gannon is in second place, and he's not that far behind Ricky, though.
Well, I was saying a couple weeks ago that it felt like maybe Gannon had passed Ricky in scrambling, but I take it back. I think Ricky's been amazing so far this season. And he was amazing at Big Easy Open despite the loss.
Yes.
He threw some unbelievable scramble shots.
Yep. It hit big putts to pair with them, too.
What's next, Josh? We've got one or two more, and then we're going to talk to Steve
I think
Hill.
we got one last quick, easy one from Lance.
All right.
Quick and easy. Okay, it's short. I'll tell you that. I don't know if it's easy. What would Rick need to do to seriously enter the Paul Climo GOAT combo? Not like bringing him up in an honorable mention, but seriously debate about him like we do Climo and Paul now.
You got to zoom out here. I mean, Ricky's clearly a Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time greats. He's just simply not in the GOAT conversation. He's been the number 2 player for his entire career.
Yeah.
And that is great. It's not like he's not a legend. If you want to talk Mount Rushmore, maybe he's on it. Especially if he continues at this pace for the next 5-10 years or something. But GOAT, what would it take? I mean, he'd have to win another 5 to 10 majors at minimum, including a couple of worlds at minimum to even be in the conversation.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's easy to look at Ricky over the last couple of years and be like, wow, he's playing so much better than Paul McBeth has over the past couple of years. Yeah, okay. Well, McBeth has 17 major wins and Ricky has 6. So let's not talk about GOAT here. I mean,
and one of them's like the Australia Open or something.
It would take a lot. Ricky's a great player, but he's been on a major drought for what? I mean, 9 years,
8.5 years. This will be 9 years this year.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, his last win was 2017 Worlds. So
I know. Oh yeah, that's the bet, Charlie. It's 10 years without a major.
I honestly feel pretty good. I think he could win one for sure. He's playing amazing disc golf right now.
I'm sure glad you do, because 8 years of data says otherwise. And here's the other problem. Like, if we're just talking pure practicality, I'd like to introduce you to one Gannon Burr, who is going to have Ricky playing second fiddle again for the tail end of his career. Unfortunately for him, he happened to exist with 2 players who are...
Season ended today, Ricky's player of the year.
How?
Because he won the first tournament and he finished second in a playoff at the second tournament.
Gannon took second in the tournament on hole 18 in the first tournament and won the second tournament.
I think Ricky on balance has been better through 2 tournaments.
Oh my goodness. 2 tournaments where they've got the exact same
I know
results.
It's obviously a ridiculous claim, but I would vote for Ricky today.
I would vote. I would look at the stats, but I would probably vote for
Give
Gannon.
him a stick trophy too.
I want Ricky wins the preserve a lot and has the big bear trophy that's on the log. They should just attach a whole bunch of sticks to it so it looks like a bundle of sticks with the bear next time.
All right, that is gonna do it for this mailbag segment. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Steve Hill from UDisc joins us to talk about the 2026 UDisc Growth Report. Stay with us. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Every time they make a batch of custom bags, they pick a valedictorian. Go over to their custom pack builder and design the bag of your dreams. Customize everything about the bag, from the fabrics to the zippers to the panels, the pockets. Here's a few recent valedictorians. Sage and Multicam Black Rufus, it's a beauty. Grape and Ballistic Charcoal Custom Octo. Wow, I like the green zippers on that one. Bordeaux Sage Coyote color combo, definitely really nice. Fits right in woods golf. And Navy and Peacock Octo with coyote accents. You can go check it out. You don't even have to buy it. You can just go build one and take a look at it. Think about what inspires you at PoundDiscGolf.com. Welcome back to The Upshot. Joining us now, is former Upshot co-host, Multi-World Disc Golf editor, and now the UDisc Marketing Manager, Steve Hill. Steve, it's great to have you back. How are you, my friends?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. Happy March Madness. Exciting times this time of year. So, great to be back as always. And it's been, I think we're coming up on 10 years, Charlie.
You read my mind. I made us wait a bunch before the start of this recording so I could find exactly when our first episode came out. The answer is May 13th, 2016. The topic, American Disc Golf Tour, the American Open. Real ones know.
Real ones know. Real ones
ESPN.
Really know.
We are under 2 months away from our 10-year anniversary of the Upshot. So mark your calendar, Steve, because we're going to have you back.
I'm game.
You and me and Josh and Jamie, and we're going to do some kind of mega show. And
Let's do it. That'd be amazing. I got to see Jamie a couple weeks ago. Been in touch with him a bunch while working on our growth report this year. Super cool to reconnect with him recently. Let's get the whole gang in here.
All right, perfect. So we'll see. Was May 13th a Tuesday or a Thursday? Let me check real quick.
I don't know.
It's a Wednesday. We'll
That's
figure
all right.
it out.
Split.
It's actually in my calendar, Upshot 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, we
and
talked
I have
about
alert
that.
set. Good for me. All right.
I love it. Nicely done. I think 10 years of the site has happened, right? Or at least 10 years of disc golf coverage now.
I think we're basically at the 10-year
on
mark.
the Ulti-World site, and
That's
then
right.
we a month or two, or not, a couple weeks after we had the disc golf
It is
site.
crazy to think that it's been 10 years and crazy to think that how much has changed in those 10 years. But Steve, we have you here today, as we do every spring, to talk about the UDisc annual growth report. And this is an interesting year to talk about it because it hasn't been a year of growth. It hasn't felt like for disc golf. And I know there's a bunch of stuff in here about how much disc golf is still growing in certain ways. But one thing that jumped to mind right away, and I want to ask you about, is that most of the past years, maybe every single year in the past, it said there were X million rounds this year, up X percent, Y percent from the previous year. And it does not say that this year. So I am wondering, have you finally seen a decline? And, what do you make of that now that things have clearly at least plateaued?
Yeah. No, we have not seen a decline. The rounds are still up. It's definitely not hockey stick growth, right? Obviously, I think everybody knows we are out of the big, accelerated times. But, disc golf is still growing. There's still more rounds being played. There's still 1,100 courses going in the ground every year. And part of the reason that we maybe didn't do some of those year-over-year things in this report is because of how we composed the report and have positioned it. One of the things about it, I'm actually on with you guys a month later than normal. We pushed back the report in order to help coincide with maybe when people could go play disc golf a little bit more, because we are working to make this report a resource that people can share with people outside the sport more. And so the goal with that was thinking, well, hey, if someone's going to take this and send it to a news media outlet, we're working with a PR firm. I would love to chat with you guys about that a little bit more. Thinking that, hey, if we're going to send this out to news media or your Parks and Rec department or stuff, it's probably a lot better to send this at a time when people can go and play disc golf as opposed to in the middle of February. And so what that has to do with some of the year-over-year stuff is we wanted to make this report more of a piece that people outside of disc golf could come learn more about disc golf, see the trends and what's happening, and hopefully see it as this piece of recreation to invest in. And so that was part of the reason why we just put some of the bigger numbers, but not necessarily year over year things. Some of that stuff, we felt over the years, we were kind of straddling this line between making disc golfers feel really good about what was happening in the game and trying to communicate disc golf as this bigger thing to outside entities. And what we basically said this year is look, disc golfers probably know what's going on. We obviously want disc golfers to feel good. Don't get me wrong. And they should. there's still a bunch of people playing, a bunch of courses going in the ground. But the growth isn't necessarily just happening to us anymore. We have to effort it a little bit more. And so we're really starting at UDisc to work to advocate more for disc golf. This is like a flagship piece of that, is we want to be able to take this, point to this and say, hey, look, insert community here. You should be investing in disc golf because of all these reasons.
You obviously are taking your your data from UDisc participation, which clearly is not the entirety of disc golf data. You have people who maybe aren't using it on a certain round, or especially new to the sport, players who don't have UDisc yet and aren't recording their rounds. How are you kind of calculating this data? Because it says 21.2 million rounds of disc golf were played. Is that just on UDisc, or are you extrapolate? Oh, that's just on UDisc.
That's just on UDisc. Yeah. So like that's like one of the biggest challenges that we have faced kind of over the years, is trying to make that calculation or that leap. We tried it back in 2020. We actually worked with a team of economists from BYU. And we kind of came up with something. But over time, what we have found is that it's so highly localized that it is really difficult to say, hey, that round represents 30% of all disc golf being played.
Right.
At Maple Hill, it's probably 90%. At, Kit Carson Park in Escondido, where I live, there's a lot more casual play. It's still huge, but there's a lot more casual play. And so it's so highly localized. What we've started to do is recommend to people, hey, like, if you really want to know like how that applies to your course and your local situation, go out, do a head count, send us the times and the people you saw, and then we can work with you to try and make like a local comparison. Right. But obviously, I think the big thing is, this is what we're able to report from our data. Hopefully, if a disc golfer and disc golfers, I have to say, are very, very good at this. When they take this kind of stuff and give it to their local entities, they're always clear about saying, hey, just so you know, this is just on this app, UDisc. There's a lot more people playing. And locally, they usually can say, hey, it's 2x, it's 3x, it's 4x, whatever. Yeah. But it is a challenge. It's something we would love to solve someday. It's just, with the like global spread of everything, it is a really it's really tricky to pin down. And we even found that it was like different on weekdays versus weekends, and 9-hole courses and 18-hole courses. I mean, like, my local 9-hole course gets plenty of play, but like not as many rounds recorded at it. Because again, for like you were saying, Josh, some rounds you're just not going to go and record, and that's okay. But for anyone who is watching the show and is like, feeling a little bit less likely to record their round sometime, if you take an extra minute or two after the round, punch in your scores, then you're adding to these counts that people can then take and use to like advocate in their community. Activity rounds as well. Rounds. I am a big proponent. Yeah, turn the scores off and set it and forget it. Yep, that's exactly what I do. I love it. Yeah.
A couple of charts I want to put up. You have these beautiful shareable charts in the report. Our design team did so well with this thing this year. They crushed it. Fantastic. No surprise here. Disc golf courses worldwide has gone from 10,396 in 2020 to 17,287 at the end of 2025. And taking a look at this 9-hole versus 18-hole courses, this is the new courses built in this past year. Well more than half are 9 holes or fewer. So we're seeing a lot more small courses being put in, as opposed to trying to, it feels like in the past there was kind of like this obsession with putting in these like big 18-hole golds, and now I feel like people have really come the other way and are like, how do we just get something in the ground? How do we get 6 holes in our park, or 9 holes? And they're not trying to bite off the whole apple here. How is that impacting the growth, do you think, of play and of disc golf in general? Yeah, it's a huge change, I think, overall. The nice part is that we've seen this trend for a few years in a row now of the short courses going in at like
double the rate of long courses. And it makes a lot of sense for accessibility, and it's really a big thing at UDisc that we are leaning into. Is we are actively trying to get people to see like stats like that. So I'm really glad you shared that one. It's one of my favorites from the report. And like tell these stories about how short courses and beginner friendly courses are bringing value to communities. We went to Disc South the other week and presented this like a preview of the report essentially, and did a bunch of talking with people about this idea of getting more short courses in, because we really do believe that this is the way to keep growing, is to get courses in the ground that are 6-hole courses, 9-hole courses, feeder type systems that you can then work up to the big baller 18-hole course. But I think like there's obviously like, it's always fun coming on this show because I know you guys are talking about like Parc des Familles, like the big baller 18-hole course. If you look at how much that course actually gets played by like everyday disc golfers on UDisc, it's way down compared to City Park in New Orleans, or shout out to Walker Disc Golf Park, the new course that Jamie Thomas and Avery Jenkins put in Walker outside of Baton Rouge last year. That course went in May, and by the end of the year, it was already the second most played course in Louisiana. And it's like 5,500 feet long. It's a relatively
16 par 3s and 2 par 4s.
Yeah, and even then, like we're seeing, you know, like one of the big stories that is linked out from the report and that we've all been like geeking out on for several years now at UDisc is what's happened in Iceland. Basically, Iceland now has the most courses per capita in the world. It's like one course for every. Yeah, it's like one course for every 4,500. That's
because 1,000 people live in Iceland, Steve.
It's like 400,000 or something like that, 300,000. But what happened?
Boye is going to come after me. I know it.
Quit pouring water on this, Charlie. This is exciting.
Boye is great. He showed us around. Our whole team went to Iceland last year for our team retreat to like see this in action. And basically, what happened was, when they put in like one of their first courses there, it was 18 holes and it was built for the disc golfers, and no one used it. I mean, the disc golfers use it, but they didn't see wider adoption of disc golf because the course was too hard. And then what happened next is they put in a 14-hole course in downtown Reykjavik with most of the holes being like 150, 200 feet. Super fun course. And that skyrocketed from there because it was accessible to more people, and it was just easier and more fun for new people. And now you look at Iceland, and they did a survey there, and like something like 20% of people in Iceland have actually played disc golf. If you had 20% of people in the US playing disc golf, things would look a lot different.
Yeah.
And so that's really, it kind of comes down to, this is a real big shift we've made at UDisc to try and it makes a lot of sense, right? Our market is more the casual players anyway. And we want people to be thinking beyond just, hey, I want to get the baller course for me and my homies in town because we've been eyeballing this for a long time, and this is our one shot. We're trying to get people to think, hey, this doesn't necessarily need to be your one shot. You can kind of like build more of a foundation, build more of a base, build up a player base, and then maybe once you have a couple of those smaller courses, it actually gets easier and you can get that better 18-hole course. So you have like players to use it. So it's an interesting, I think it can be a shift for disc golfers to try and really think, hey, let's think long-term growth. And how do we do that? And we feel very strongly right now at UDisc that smaller, more beginner-friendly courses are the best way to make that happen.
Well, and if I could add one other thought to that, Steve. In my town, at my hometown, Pocatello, we have 2 courses up in like the Nordic Center where they do cross-country skiing. I mean, just absolutely fantastic courses. We have a course that's up like on a mountain. Fantastic course. It's like a 5-hour commitment to go.
Yep.
Because you're, packing food, you're packing sunscreen, bug spray, you're getting everything ready. You drive up there. It takes a long time to play. You're exhausted. You got to go shower afterwards. And so even as like someone who enjoys those kind of courses, I also find myself in my lunch break buzzing over to the local 9-hole course to go play for half an hour and just throw some discs around.
That's exactly it.
And so more 9-hole courses. I mean, the one that's close to school right now is always just packed with people. I mean, crossing fairways, just jam packed to the gills. And so a couple more 9-hole courses to alleviate some of that pressure. I mean, that's not just good for the beginners. It's good for people like me who just want a half hour or to an hour to play.
100%. And I think like that's really what we're advocating for is disc golf not as just this big daunting excursion that you have to plan out your entire day around, but something like, I go for a run every morning. Takes me half hour to 45 minutes and I'm back in my day. Or like Josh, you're saying, go out for a lunch break, get some sunshine, go play around a disc golf. And like it doesn't have to, that doesn't mean it has to be boring for players who are more into disc golf. Like we have some people on the UDisc team who are like hardcore disc golfers, throw 400, 500 feet. They're really, really good. They had a blast when we went on this team retreat in Iceland because they're just taking little putters and throwing ace runs all day. And like aces and birdies are fun. People love that stuff. Yeah. And so we just kind of need to like just keep having the conversation, get people thinking about it. And almost like, I think like most disc golfers know it. I think they realize, hey, short courses are good and fun. They just almost need to be like given permission or like resources to advocate for them better. And that's what we're hopefully trying to do with the report.
All right. Well, you're going to lose some pickleball fans because you guys are coming hard at them in this report. Here's a chart. Estimated cost to install a pickleball court versus disc golf course. $28,000 for a single pickleball court or $9,000 for a 9-hole disc golf course. I have to say, like, it basically acknowledges pickleball is good and that pickleball
100%.
serves a lot of people, but makes the case that disc golf also does that and can be more money efficient for sure, but also more player efficient. I mean, it's possible to get more people out into a disc golf course than you can get onto pickleball, even like a big facility. So, what was the decision behind wanting to focus so much on pickleball as a chunk of this report? Is it just because you feel like you're competing for resources from parks departments?
Not necessarily. I think there's a couple reasons. We've obviously like pickleball and disc golf have both gone like boom city since COVID, right? Pickleball to a higher degree and everything. And so it's kind of funny. I've always like joked over the last few years that pickleball is like my nemesis sport, because I'm marketing disc golf, right? And I want pickleball's PR company, hit me up. But they, at the end of the day, it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. We're not necessarily trying to beat them. I think the goal here is Parks and Rec directors right now know pickleball and are thinking about pickleball because pickleball players are in their ear about it. I remember, Josh, you mentioned that, I think last year.
Oh, yeah.
I talked to I talked to a couple Parks and Rec people throughout the process of writing the report just to kind of learn what would resonate with them. And the thinking there is, hey, you're used to pickleball. You understand that you're in that headspace right now. Let's compare disc golf to that as a form of recreation and giving this idea of what's called throughput that, like you said, Charlie, it can be more player efficient. You're probably not going to max out a disc golf course, but if you do max out a disc golf course, 4 players on a hole per hour, you're going to be able to get more people in your community recreating than a pickleball court or 4 pickleball courts even allow you to. So it was just to try and make that comparison so that people can start to think more about, hey, this is an amenity that I can add to my community that does have the potential to serve more people. So it's not necessarily like a slap at pickleball. It's an anchoring point. That's kind of one of the things I really try and make sure, like I'm obviously our whole team contributes to the report. I'm the lead author, but obviously the whole team's working on it, from design, data science, everything like that. When I'm writing the content of the report, one of the things I've really tried to do every year is just find those little things that people could compare to or anchor to that might get them to think, oh, okay, I get it. that's really the point with this, with pickleball, is we're trying to get this in front of Parks and Rec departments. We want people who are in disc golf to send this to their Parks and Recs. We're probably going to be going out to different Parks and Recreation shows, like the National Parks and Rec show later this year. We're working to just expand this beyond the current scope of disc golfers. And part of being able to do that is making these kind of arguments that, hey, you know this thing, here's how this compares.
I want to pivot to this PR firm that you've been working with that you described a little bit. You can definitely see the through line in this report in a lot of ways. And as somebody who is involved in like local government and making these decisions, I see things like smart infrastructure. Like, oh, I've heard that phrase before. Destination worthy investment, right? Environmentally friendly land use. All of those are clear signals, as you've kind of described at the top, to the decision makers about how they use their land and why using it for disc golf is a good idea. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the using of that PR firm, what inspired it, and what they've helped do?
Yeah, definitely. We've really done a lot of reorganization at UDisc over the last year about what we're focusing on and what we think is most important. And really, like, I think about it a little bit like we're the disc golf app, but we're kind of evolving into being more than the app, and we're kind of being disc golf advocates. And part of that is creating more awareness of disc golf generally. Like, it's been really cool. We talked at the top of the show, been doing disc golf in some kind of form professionally for about a decade now. It has gotten easier to explain to people what disc golf is now. You don't get the random like, huh? And you have to say, golf with frisbees a little bit less. At the same time, there's still people who do need to know what it is or are unfamiliar with it. And so, like, when we're looking at the report this year, disc golfers who come into this report, they know disc golf. They're going to see things in the report and they'll be like, I know that. I know that disc golf is like golf with frisbees. I've seen the Dunkin' Donuts stat a few years ago now. But that's why we added in Taco Bell and Domino's for you this year, which is fun. But the goal is to get this out to more people and create that awareness of disc golf. So we have hired a PR firm. They're out of Colorado. They're great. The goal is not necessarily we're not hiring the PR firm for UDisc. We really hired the PR firm for disc golf. We want them to help us just raise general awareness of the sport. And we think that by being able to get more local media coverage, potentially more, if there's larger media hits that we can get, great. We're really bullish on the fact that if we can get more people talking about disc golf, thinking about it, seeing it in their news, seeing it on their social media feeds, things like that, then it's just going to continue to have more chances to get in front of someone at the Parks and Rec department or the Tourism Bureau or a resort or a brewery or some place that has land that they're looking for another way to either bring in customers, serve their community, and just, give people more recreation they can have a good time with. So, so far we've been working with this firm. We're trying to get the report out a little bit more, I think, and we're going to continue working with them even throughout the year. We do our lists of best courses. That's going to be coming in about a month. That's another one we kind of shifted back to align with disc golf season. We're doing some reworking of our health index report. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's basically this measurement of best places where you can get disc golf, but more importantly, where you can put disc golf. We're kind of reworking that to kind of show, to provide, again, a tool for Parks and Rec departments so that they can see if their city is doing well on the disc golf access front. And so a lot of these things, we're just going to keep chipping away. PR, when you're working externally, is a long game. So we're just going to keep working it and try and do our best to keep breaking outside of, kind of the disc golf bubble.
It's incredibly important work that you're basically doing for free, it seems. I mean, I know that like there's a long tail benefit to UDisc if more people start playing. But I think we can all agree that this is like super valuable and goes way beyond what other orgs are doing. in terms of trying to push things forward into the future. Couple quick ones for you. Since we had you on last, UDisc is back with a PDGA discount, PDGA member discount. What's are things thawed a little bit?
Yeah, look. It's been great to have Doug Bierkes come on board as executive director. We've had a relationship with Doug for a long time in various capacities, from his DD days and everything like that. So we were super excited to work with PDGA again. I think there's probably more opportunities to keep doing that. And yeah, we're stoked. If you weren't aware, yeah, you can get 15% off your UDisc Pro membership there as part of your PDGA benefits. And it's great. Like we got to see some of those guys at Disc South the other week, and we think there's really there has to be collaboration in the industry. You know what I mean? And that's really, we want to keep collaborating with people. We want to keep helping this grow. And that means partnerships, end of the day.
Also, UDiscLive.com is now dead. What is going to happen with all of the data that UDisc collected for those years of the Pro Tour stats and everything living there?
That's a great question. We still have it. It's there. Basically, the site and the technology that it was built on was at end of life, and we didn't want to have any security risks or anything that come with the technology side of that. And, without a partnership with any of the tours in place, it just, didn't really make a ton of sense. So what will come of that data? I don't have a solid answer for you right now, but we at least have it, and we can go from there. I know it was interesting though. I mean, we took it down, and most people didn't realize for like a couple months, and I think it was I don't know. It's one of those situations where thankfully PDGA Live is doing their thing, and the DGPT scores are doing their thing, and you can get like the last couple years and go from there, I guess, and see what happens. Yeah.
Do you own that data and you would have to sell it to the Pro Tour, or could they just like have it?
Our understanding is that it's on our servers. We have it. We own it. Yeah. And we tried to, again, essentially work with them to come to some kind of an agreement previously when we initially stopped working together and just couldn't make it happen. So we haven't talked to them about it since or anything though.
All right. Well, we need to have a repository. I mean, I guess StatMando kind of has this, but there's lots of useful data. I hope this doesn't just wither forever, because it's nice to have a historical single place to see stats and information. So
no, I agree. I mean, like most sports have that, right? You can see the history of different athletic endeavors in many other sports. And so, maybe someday there will be a way that we can do that. I think it's not necessarily our huge focus right now. That's kind of where it's been a little bit tricky sometimes, right? Like we are focusing on the casual player base and trying to empower people to get more disc golf in their communities. That doesn't always align with thinking about what to do with the historical stats, but we understand that there's like long-term history is super important to the game. And it's something where I think like disc golf as a whole probably needs some work. There's a lot of storytelling that can be done. There's a lot of documentation of whether it's the Pro Tour, whether it's the first like steady ed courses going in, that whole era of like, the last 50 years of from the first course in the ground in Pasadena to now. There's a lot through there that hopefully we can continue to keep documenting someday, so that we don't like lose all that stuff to the annals of history.
Any exciting forthcoming UDisc features to know about?
I think one thing I mentioned was like the health index. We are really working to revamp that so that, again, we can have this like tool that a city could use to measure their disc golf access and say, hey, am I doing a good job for my community? Am I measuring up to, Madison, Wisconsin, for example? Like we've found that a lot of cities will kind of like look to their neighboring cities and see how they're doing comparatively. So we're really excited about that. A lot of what we're working on is it's not necessarily like distinct app features, but a lot of stuff we're doing to help, again, grow communities. So we're looking at piloting some programming for new players, like even just real low key events where you can get someone out to try disc golf for the first time. We've got women's clinics that we're hosting with Ella Hansen and Holland Hanley all over the country. We've been doing that for a couple years now. We're doing that this year. There's one in Charlotte next week. You can look at the events tab on UDisc to find when those come near you. They're great. They're free clinics for getting women into the game. And so those are the big things that we're focusing on right now. Like as far as the in-app experience, like we're going to keep working to make sure that the data quality is sound so that when you go to a course, you are on the right layouts, you can navigate the course correctly. You don't show up and there's something's wrong or something's not in the ground or whatever. That's the biggest thing that we want to do is we want to just keep making sure that you have a good, solid experience when you go to the course so that you can just play and have fun.
Awesome, Steve. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll see you in 2 months for the 10-year anniversary.
Let's do it, you guys. Thank you for having me on. Real quick before I go, I don't know if you talked about it on the show already, but who do you have for March Madness? I got to hear it.
Josh went with Zona. I'm going with Duke.
Okay.
I'm going with Duke. How about you, Steve?
I took about 5 minutes to fill in my bracket last night, and I ended up with Purdue, so we'll see.
All right, Purdue. All right.
I don't know.
I haven't done my bracket yet. I'm literally getting off of this and doing my bracket.
I was going to say, you're coming up on the deadline.
Meeting. Yeah. I still have time. All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
That's going to do it for our show, everybody. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Thanks for being with us. And for Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week. That was the Josh Yawn, folks.
It was Josh Yawn, man. Bro, I'm so tired from yesterday still.